A few weeks ago on this podcast, I shared a daily dose of leadership about a cactus, a giant fallen cactus on a trail in Phoenix, decayed and dissolving back into the earth. But on the very tips of this dying cactus, there was new growth, very small and green and alive. I found this cactus in the fall of 2023 when my marriage was ending. My therapist had sent me on a hike to find something in nature that represented how I was feeling, and that cactus was me. The dissolving and the growing happening at the same time. I sobbed sitting there on that trail, looking at that cactus, and I've carried that image with me ever since. And then I podcasted about it. So you can imagine how I felt recently when my podcast producer, Jen, who has been listening to all of these daily doses of leadership, showed up with a gift, a new cactus, beautiful and alive and full of possibility. And she said to me when she gave it to me, "Here's a new cactus, so you don't have to think about the dead one anymore." I laughed and then I teared up a little, as I am doing again now, like reflecting on the story. Because it's one of the most human and generous things that someone can do for another person, to hear your story and not just hear the story, but to hold it and then to show up with something that says, "I see where you've been and I am celebrating where you're going." Damn, she's good. And that is what great relationships do. They witness your dissolving seasons and then they hand you something green. And here's the leadership lesson in that. The people around you are carrying stories, hard stories, seasons of dissolving that they may or may not have named out loud. And most of the time, they don't need you to fix those seasons or rush through those seasons with them. They just need to know that someone heard them, that someone was paying attention, that someone cared enough to show up, maybe with a small new cactus, maybe with a text, maybe with a conversation that says, "I remember what you shared and I'm thinking about you." That's the leadership skill of noticing and paying attention, of holding someone's story with enough care that it informs how you show up for them later. Being the kind of leader and friend and colleague and human being who makes people feel less alone in their becoming. The new cactus is sitting on my desk right now. I'm posting a picture of it on LinkedIn today so that you can see it too. Every time I look at it, I think about two things: the trail in Phoenix and everything I was dissolving through. And I think of Jen, my podcast producer, and the kind of person who pays attention, who listens, who shows up with something alive. Be the person who shows up with the new cactus. Who in your world is in a dissolving season right now? And what is your version of showing up with something green? Doesn't have to be big. It just has to say, "I heard you, I see you, and I'm here for what's growing next." What a great way to take care of yourself and ultimately each other.